You know, if you remember my first major speech, sit down, everybody, come on. You know, the dishonest media, they'll say, he didn't get a standing ovation. You know why? Because everybody stood and nobody sat. So they will say, he never got a standing ovation, right? They make up sources. They're very dishonest people. In fact, in covering my comments, dishonest media did not explain that I called the fake news the enemy of the people, the fake news. They dropped off the word fake, and all of a sudden, the story became media is the enemy. They take the word fake out. I'm against the people that make up stories and make up sources. They shouldn't be allowed to use sources unless they use somebody's name. They say that we can't criticize their dishonest coverage because of the First Amendment. You know, they always bring up the First Amendment. And I love the First Amendment. Nobody loves it better than me. I mean, who uses it more than I do?
President Trump also spoke about building a movement and putting America first. Let's take a look.
I'm here today to tell you what this movement means for the future of the Republican Party, for the future of America. The core conviction of our movement is that we are a nation that put and will put its own citizens first. Now is the time for action. We will cut wasteful spending. We will promote our values. We will rebuild our inner cities. We will bring back our jobs and our dreams. The GOP will be, from now on, the party also of the American worker.
And there you go. Joining us for reaction is American Conservative Union Chairman Matt Schlapp and Fox News contributor Herman Cain. Matt, I'll begin with you. What do you think of the president's speech today, and what was his reaction when you first asked him to speak there?
Oh, yeah, and he talked about that. He said, like he always does, of course I would be there. And one of the things he said, I want to be there because I want to thank these folks who stood with me. And after the speech, I want you to know, he seemed really pumped up by the response from the crowd. I mean, conservatives are so hungry to start winning and to start having victories, and they are just, I can't tell you, it was emotional. They just want a leader who will fight, and he's showing them how to fight.
You know, it was interesting, Herman, because people were talking about, well, you know, if you wanted red meat, you got it. Yesterday with Steve Bannon and with the president today, many were saying it almost sounded like a campaign speech again, giving them kind of what they want and talking about what he was intending to accomplish.
I want to congratulate Matt, because this is the first time in my memory that CPAC has been able to get the president and all of his top people to speak. Kudos to Matt and his organization.
Absolutely.
During his speech, I heard the exploding sounds of liberals' heads exploding because he did something that they are not used to happening. He repeated what he said he was going to do, and he's doing what he said he was going to do. That's what was so refreshing about his speech today. And I believe that it wasn't just giving the people red meat, it was giving people what he said he was going to do, and liberals hated it and conservatives loved it.
All right, fantastic. If it was me, I'd want some of that, you know, Godfather's pizza. That was the good stuff, too, with the pepperoni on it. So, Matt, you're getting a lot of praise. Look, from my friend Herman Cain, people really felt that this has gone incredibly well. But what do you say to some of the naysayers that said, well, we would have liked to see, like earlier on our show on the 5-1, Williams said something that sounded more presidential. This sounded like it was just like the euphoria of a campaign.
Yeah, no, I just don't know how it could go any better. I'm actually thinking of resigning, Kimberly, because I don't think I can do any better than this.
Yes,
so,
retire,
thank you,
retire.
Herman, for your kind, for your kind comments. Look, I think that's wrong. I actually sat there and really watched and listened to the speech, and it was a detailed explanation of what conservatives want to see happen from the federal government now. And I thought it was actually very specific, and it hit really all the major points.
Okay, and yesterday, just give me a little bit about the kind of back and forth. People were really curious to watch how it went down between Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus. Right. I'm sure you spoke to them beforehand and after they were on stage together. How did it feel to you, and were you worried at all about how it was going to come off?
Yeah, I was a little bit worried. Clearly there's all this talk about how maybe Reince and Steve don't get along, and we all decided the best thing would be to just put it out on stage and have a conversation. And beforehand, they got busy jobs, they got a lot on their mind, but we actually got behind in the schedule and we had time to talk and relax and laugh and talk about funny political moments, and they were really loose by the time they got on stage, and I think people got a very candid assessment of their relationship, which is very constructive, and I think the markets worldwide, and I think the nation had a sigh of relief that these guys are working together and they're ready to get the job done.
Yeah, so one team versus two different camps. Herman, you were a strong supporter of President Trump from the beginning. He's also been very strong here talking about jobs, the economy, trying to get this back to the robustness that it once was. How did you feel today about his comment?
I felt inspired, and so did a lot of my listeners and people that I talked to. They felt inspired, and the comment that I continue to hear over and over and over, he's actually saying what he said he was going to do, exactly. And he's doing it. And the reason that a lot of the media people were not happy with the speech, and he was criticized, as Matt said, about he didn't sound presidential. The American people don't care about him sounding presidential. They are concerned about him doing what he said he was going to do. He doesn't speak in political speak, he doesn't speak bureaucratic speak, and he certainly doesn't speak media speak. He speaks Trump speak. It connects with the American people. They love it. And that's why the media and others don't like it, because he's not saying the words that they want him to say. Donald Trump, President Trump, is President Trump. And that's what upsets them the most.
It's interesting, Herman, because you've been right there in the thick of it and running for office, and you see a lot of people trying to shape you or tell you what to say or how to dress or what to do in this whole process. I mean, did you ever get a chance to give the president some advice to say, in terms of running a campaign and being very genuine and authentic with the people out there, the voters?
Yes. President Trump was the only candidate, not that they had to call me, he was the only candidate that called me for advice before he ran in the primary. And I gave him two pieces of advice. Number one, be prepared for lawsuits, because I didn't call it fake news then, but he's going to be hit with fake news and lies, and that's what he's had to contend with. And the other thing that I suggested to him, and he's carrying it out, be true to yourself. I had a plan called 999. You know what I called his tax plan? I called his tax plan cut, cut, cut. Yeah. And you know what? I'm happy with that, because the American people can understand that. And I believe that he's going to deliver on that. He now has to work with the Congress, and he understands this in order to be able to get it across the finish line.
All right. And Matt, also you had Lou Dobbs, one of our own, there today, and he's getting a lot of wide praise, from a lot of the supporters of President Trump, to say that he did a great job. What do you think? Oh,
Lou was great, and we all know that Lou has this populist spirit, and he takes no guff from anybody, and to have him on before President Trump was just perfect. And of course we had Judge Jeanine Pirro, who really lit this place up last night as well.
Great friend of mine too. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I got to tell you, you might want to retire, because this was a pretty all-star in terms of all the Republicans and conservatives out there. It was something for everybody. Can't thank you both enough, two of my favorite people, for being here tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks, Kimberly.
All right, and here now with more reaction is Special Assistant to President Trump, Boris Epstein. Now, Boris, good to see you as always, my friend. We go way back. President Trump on Tuesday is going to address joint session of Congress. What can we expect, and what do you want him to hit hard on? What note?
Well, the key topics we've been talking about, Kimberly, with you for a long time. So nice to be here. Through the campaign, the transition, and now the first 5 weeks, the unbelievably productive first 5 weeks. National security, the economy, cutting taxes, cutting regulations, and renewing that American promise, American spirit, and moving forward as a country to be more secure, to be more safe, and be better off as a nation.
You know, there's a lot of things that the president set out to accomplish, and I just want to bring you back up to yesterday to Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus were on the stage together talking about the agenda of the president, talking about the economic agenda that he wanted to be able to put forward. How do you think you guys, your team, is doing so far in terms of being able to put forward those ideas and sort of check the box on the promises that were made? Steve Bannon was promising that, in fact, what the president promised during the campaign is in fact going to happen. Do you think you're on track?
Absolutely. Look at the numbers first 5 weeks. Over 35 meetings with foreign leaders, about 38 and growing. And what is that? That is ensuring American safety, American security, making sure people are safe in their homes, making sure they can walk their streets and not feel threatened. Over 25 presidential actions, just one today, on cutting those job-stifling regulations. Very important, vital. And as we move forward, you're going to be looking at activity, of course, on Obamacare and on reforming that tax code.
All right, so you've been part of the team, you know, right from the beginning, part of the transition, et cetera. You see a lot of discussion in social media, in the mainstream media, on the press, about are there different factions or some warring interests within the administration? You're right there. Tell us, is it true or not?
No, there's no warring factions. I mean, you saw that in the discussion between Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus. You are never going to get a group of sophisticated, achieved, smart people to agree off the bat on anything, and what you want is people to give their perspectives. But the key is that when you make that decision, when the president decides what the action is, to carry that out as a cohesive unit. And that's exactly what's happening in this White House.
All right, well, you seem pretty optimistic about this. Now, let's talk about a little bit of the breaking news today that happened, Boris. Some media outlets were barred from an off-camera White House press gaggle. What's the Trump administration's response to some of the heat? CNN and others weren't allowed in, they said.
Well, CNN will do anything to feign shock and make it seem like they're somehow offended. Here's the bottom line here. The pool was represented. There's a reason the pool exists. So the TV pooler and the print pooler were present, and the whole gaggle was transcribed. So there's plenty of access to everything that was said. And all this, you know, shock is absolutely overblown.
Okay, so there wasn't like a little timeout list or anything like that where people were put baby in the corner and not in the room in the gaggle.
No, not at all. It's not like Saturday Night Live or anything like that. The pool was represented, and then others were invited in to the point where they fit into the press secretary's office, and that's what it was. But again, the key here is the access to the pool, and this was a gaggle, not a press conference. So everything is consistent with proper practice.
All right. Well, Boris, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for being here tonight on Hannity.
Great to be here, Kimberly. Thank you.
All right.
One by one, we're checking off the promises we made to the people of the United States. One by one. A lot of promises. We will not stop until the job is done. We will reduce your taxes. We will cut your regulations. We will support our police. We will defend our flag. We will rebuild our military. We will take care of our great, great veterans. We're taking care of our veterans.
Welcome back to Hannity. That was President Donald Trump speaking at CPAC earlier today. And here with reaction are the founder and executive director of Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, the author of The Deplorables Guide to Making America Great Again, Todd Starnes, and Fox News senior correspondent, Geraldo Rivera. Gentlemen, thanks for being here tonight. Todd, I'm going to begin with you. What did you think of the president's speech today? I know you've had the opportunity to see him in person a lot before, and then you were able to watch this, but did he hit all the right points?
That's in my book, that this really is about the people that Hillary Clinton and the liberals and the mainstream media consider to be deplorable. Those folks who want to secure the border, those folks who believe in traditional values. And it was the word irredeemable that I think really struck a chord with folks, because the Democrats believe that folks who believe like Donald Trump, folks who believe like the average American citizen, that their belief system is beyond redemption. So I say thumbs up for the president. He did a great job and he hit a home run today.
All right, Geraldo, how did you see it?
Well, I think that Todd mentioned Hillary Clinton. I think Hillary Clinton was almost the shadow presence in that room. Anytime Donald Trump mentioned the fake media, he could have been saying Hillary Clinton. It's like he had the old campaign speeches where Hillary Clinton, even to the point where the audience at CPAC began chanting, "Lock her up," when he never mentioned Hillary Clinton. His speech was so charismatic, so impassioned. It was so pointed, the barbs and so forth. Only he was aiming the insults and the takedowns at the news media instead of Hillary Clinton. But they heard it, the same tempo, really the same melody. So they started shouting, "Lock her up." It was fascinating and entertaining.